good morning, Miracle City. This is Elder Rashawn Reeves sitting in for your host, Bishop Clarence Langston and Pastor Robyn Langston. Rise and shine and give God the glory. In the studio with me, I have some powerful men of God, Minister Vernon Isby and Elder Damon Jones. How you doing today, Minister Vernon?
You know, this is the day that the Lord has made. We rejoicing, we just glad in it. And thank God that y'all tuned in to Morning Glory.
Good morning, Elder Damon. How are you, sir?
I'm blessed this morning, giving God the glory. I'm thankful for Bishop and Pastor for allowing me to be here today. This is a new day. I'm glad I'm in it.
I like that. You said it's a new day. You know, we've been sharing Elder Damon Jones' testimony, and I'm not going to prolong it. Let's get into it, Elder Damon. For the people that may just be joining or may haven't heard it, but maybe need to hear it again because there's so much in your testimony, can you begin to share your powerful testimony about what the Lord has done for you in your life?
Yes, sir. I'm just, first of all, I'm just thankful to be here today. Life started, young man, raised up in a single family household, came up in one of the toughest neighborhoods in Detroit, the Brightmoor community. Like I said, was raised by a single mother, had older siblings that were out in the streets, drug dealing and things like that. And as a young child, I saw a lot of that. Even when my mother, she had her boyfriend, who I consider my stepfather, because I never met my father, and he raised me since I was 3 years old. And I remember being with him when I was 10 and 11 years old. He was out making his drug deals and seeing the things that comes along with drug dealing, the drug using, the gangster lifestyle, the gangster mentality. So I saw a lot as a young child and experienced a lot as a young child. So that almost became who I was, you know, because that's what I was around. My brother and them did it. My stepfather, the guy that I consider my cover, my stepfather, he did it. And, you know, we just were used to a certain lifestyle. You know, when my mother was hooked up with this man, you know, they made money, they had money, we had the nice cars, we had the big houses, we had the ice cream trucks. I don't even remember when I was in kindergarten, I come home and it's a lifestyle pinball machine in my front room. You know, so we got used to that lifestyle, you know. And once she broke up with him, my brother and them just ran loose from there. Because they were used to that lifestyle, so they ran out in the streets and got in the hustle that game themselves. And it was just a major impact on my life at that time. And I remember, you know, I was still going to school, you know, because it's a lot comes with the drug game. Mm-hmm. A lot of stuff that, well, you see now on TV, but back in the day they used to show all the stuff on TV. You know, the flip side of the drug game. So we dealt with a lot in our home, a lot of stuff coming at us in our home. And I just remember that when my brother and them, when they were out there, you know, what they doing, because I was connected to them, had influence on my life. You know what I'm saying? And it definitely changed my perspective. But I was still going to school, you know, trying to bring honor to our name. You know what I'm saying? Trying to give my mother something to be proud of. And I was going to school, getting straight A's and everything. Wow. You know what I'm saying? But when I come home from school, I was attracted to the lifestyle of drug dealing. Wow. And I found myself drug dealing at a young age, you know, trying to provide for myself, trying to be the man, trying to, you know what I'm saying, just do everything on my own. And it definitely made me who I am today, you know. But when I got connected to Bishop Clarence Langston, yes, my God, how my life changed.
Wow.
So what you're saying is really is power in seeing models before you. You know, back in the day, I come from the same lifestyle. We're going to talk about that another day, but alcoholics hang out with alcoholics, dope dealers hang out with dope dealers. And sometimes you get caught in that peer pressure and you get connected to it, and next thing you know, you're rolling with it. But continue on.
Yeah. And so that just became a way of life, and I found myself when it was time for me to transition to high school. You know, I found myself leaving, going out of town, you know, to make my own money to support myself. And I remember being in Ohio and just, no authority. I was just wild, Came back home, I'm like, okay, I'm finna get all my clothes together so I can go to school. And with the drug life comes, like I said, the flip side, and so my brothers, they sold drugs, but they wound up getting hooked on it as well.
Wow.
And one of my brothers, man, I remember I went and hustled and got all my stuff together, and I came home one day, and everything I had bought was gone, just like that.
Wow.
Just like that. And I flipped. And I was like, okay, well, if I can't beat them, I might as well join them. And so I just dove all the way in to drug dealing. And I was always connected to somebody who, what we would say in the street, had the plug, had the bag, and for whatever reason, they always pulled me close to them, you know what I'm saying? So I always, for whatever reason, I always had an abundance, you know what I'm saying, when I was out in the streets. And so it became who I was, and I was used to it. So I understand the pull. When you're out in them streets and the fast money, and the fast cars, and the fast life, I understand that because the enemy always wants to put that in your face and have you get all that stuff prematurely to take you out, And so I can say right now that it's not worth it because you lose a lot. My bishop taught me there's only one way to do it the right way, and that's the right way the first time. There ain't no shortcuts, I thank God for the grace and mercy that He had over my life. At the time, little did I know that that's what it was. I just thought I was that smooth, that cool, you know what I'm saying? But now I know that it was the grace and mercy of God, that He had something bigger and better for me to do. He had a plan for my life. And I thank God for Bishop Langston pointing that out once I came into contact with him. Yes.
So tell us a little about it. You was out there in the drug game, you had the wrong model in front of you, so you did what you saw. You share with the people. I heard you say yesterday how you caught a case. You was a 20-year felon. You was on probation. Tell the people a little bit about that.
Yeah, man. When I was out there in the streets, man, like you said, you never know what's gonna come each day. And one day when I was older, I wound up catching a felony case. And when I met Bishop, I had that felony case on my name for 20 years.
Wow.
For 20 years, I was convicted felon, and that's what it was when you're in the community that you're in. Just about everybody's been in prison. Everybody either on probation or parole. It just becomes a way of life, and it's something you just accept.
Yeah.
And with that, I had limits on my name. I put limits on my name being on probation and having a felony, but. When I came to, one day, I knew I wanted something different, and at this time I was married, I had a family, but I still wanted more. I didn't have that peace, I didn't have that direction.
Wow.
So I remember I was invited to Word in Action one day, and I met Bishop, and he prayed for me, and I went in the back, I received the Holy Spirit, and I knew that that time that, wow, God, you really live in me. The power of God really lives in me. And I saw the power of God in this man of God and the way that he lived, the way he took care of his family, the way that he took care of his wife, the way he took care of the church. And I was like, wow, God, I need that type of power. So I remember Bishop pulling me to the front one day and praying over me and my wife and laying hands on us. And he said, God gonna take the taste of weed out your mouth.
Yes, come on.
And we was like, what? You know what I'm saying? And he prayed for us. We went home later on that day. We gonna test it. We rolled up a blunt, didn't hit right. We thinking something wrong with the papers or something. Rolled up another blunt, didn't hit right. Our throat started to itch, and we was like, wow, maybe what he said is true. And so I remember the very next day. I was riding with one of my friends, and he was in the car with me, and he rolled up a blunt, and I'm riding with him, so I decided to hit the blunt with him. And then, just so clearly, God was like, "I delivered you from this," and I didn't know that I had said it out loud. And I was like, man, God didn't deliver me from this. This guy is not even saved. He's not even in church. God used him to tell me to confirm what God had done. He's like, yeah, man, God already delivered you from me. What you doing?
Wow.
I put the blunt out. I was like, ain't looked back since. But to get back to what you were saying about the felony, I wound up catching the felony as well. Bishop pulled me close to him, told me to walk with him, keep God first, put God first. He gave me these foundational scriptures of Hebrews 11:1 faith. And he gave me Matthew 6:33, just seek the kingdom of God first and his righteousness, all these things he add unto you. So I he spoke to me one day and said, I see all things new in you. I see a new name, new house, new car, everything. And so I said, okay. He said, go down to the court system and get your felony expunged off your name. I'm like, my felony expunged? I was like, I never even thought about that. I was convicted felon all my life. I went down there based on what the prophet said, the word the prophet said, the faith that the prophet had. I went down there, no lawyer, no anything. I went down there to try to get off. They told me, no, you can't get off, you can't have no expungement. You have multiple felonies.
Wow.
I'm like, huh? I only been convicted one time. They said, no, you have multiple felonies. Little did I know I was the baby. I used my name out of the streets. And I didn't take it personally. It's just, we know what you do out there. And so I had to go through the whole process of getting my fingerprints done. And they wound up dropping all those felonies. It's like 8 felonies. Ooh. That was a miracle in the first place.
You better believe
those, And so I went back down there and I went to court and went with the paperwork and went with the letter from my pastor and my supervisor and the judge. She read it and she was blown away and she said, is there anything you want to say? And I just told her about how I've been connected to my pastor. He was a pastor at that time, and how my life had changed, and how me being connected to him, he taught me how to honor, how to respect. Well, I go in there, she stopped the whole courtroom proceedings, tell everybody to stop, the prosecutor, the bailiff, everybody to listen to my testimony. And I just told her about the honor and respect I have my pastor, how he taught me how to put God first, how he taught me how to be a man of my family, coming from my family. And she was blown away. She turned around and started honoring me. And it blew me away because I was like, wow, I knew it wasn't me, it was because of what I was connected to, you know. And let it be known, man, she said, it's an honor for me to expunge your name. It's an honor. She said, the man that you were 20 years ago is not the man that I see in front of me today. And I just give God glory for that. I give honor to Bishop Clarence, Langston, and Pastor Robyn for pouring into my life, for being models and examples, for operating in the power of God. You know, because that's what we need more than ever right now. We need the power of God that's going to change lives right now in the conditions that they're in.
Wow, you heard the testimony. We're going to continue it tomorrow. This man of God, he was a felony for 20 years. And the man of God, Clarence Langston, told him everything new name, go down there and get it expunged. He goes, it's 8 more felonies. But guess what? He's not a felon anymore. Listen, we're out of time. But tomorrow, join us for your host, Bishop Clarence Langston. They send their love. And Pastor Robyn Langston, they're praying for you, and even you. Be blessed. Wow.
That is powerful.
Wow. No, we can keep it rolling.
Faith really don't make sense and make miracles. But one thing I want to ask you, during that time you come into the Lord, you're so used to making $1,000 a day, and you come to God, and you know you probably maximize to making that a month. How was that transition? Sometimes you might have a light bill about to be cut off, and all you had to really do was make one phone call and get that sack and get them thousands.
Right.
How was that struggle for you?
It was at that time in my life, I had seen, because I had grew up so fast. By the time I was 18, I felt as though I had did everything in life. Because I was around guys who was older than me, like I said, guys that had money, just that fast life and everything. So by the time I was 18, I looked and I was like, there ain't no end to this but one way, either prison or in jail. I mean, prison or the grave. And I wanted to make a lifestyle change. So thank God that he knows your heart, you know, and he'll meet you where you at. He's not gonna stay where you at, but he'll meet you where you at. And at that time I was like, you know what, God, I don't see myself working no regular job. That's just, God knows, and that's just where I was at in life. I said, I don't see myself working no regular job. I'm so, you know, I'm used to certain things. And my brother had just got out of prison and he was looking for a job. And I remember him going around to different places trying to get, and I was just like, man, that's a bold place to be in. Right. And it was a little prideful, you know what I'm saying? I ain't doing that. But God knew my heart, but I wanted to transition out the game, you know. And I wound up going to an unemployment agency with one of my friends. Wasn't planning on putting in no application. I was just going to smoke a blunt with them. And for whatever reason, God put on my heart to put an application in. and they wound up calling me from Chrysler. And so when I got the they wound up calling me, I get the job for Chrysler, and so I remember that, okay, there's only one person I know that worked for Chrysler, and that was one of my uncles. And I looked at his lifestyle, and he had a home with his family. He lived in Rosedale Park. He owned a store, things like that. So I'm transitioning from the game, so I'm like, okay, I can maybe do something with this. You know, I start calculating up the numbers, 40 hours. I was like, all right, I can survive off this. You know, I can provide for my family. And I remember it so clearly that when I went for my orientation, they was like, okay, sign all the paperwork and everything. And I was ready to just quit, just give it up. Then they was like, this part-time. I was like, oh, 2 days a week.
Back to the streets.
Back to the streets. So I'm like, can't let it go. I can't let it go now, you know. Wow. But I wound up transitioning slowly but surely. It probably took me about 3 or 4 years to actually let the streets all the way go, you know. And but when I got saved, you know, I still had, when I came into the church, I still lived that same lifestyle. I still had that same mentality, you know what I'm saying? Still like the fast thing, the quick thing. And so it was definitely a transition, but I had to put the word of God into action. It was all about faith, you know what I'm saying? So what you might not see, what you might not have in your hand at that time, you know, you trust God, believe God, and He'll provide everything for you. So I had a model who had a testimony that I could connect to. Yes. Because he went through some of the same thing. It tripped me out because I'm like, God, this man is talking my language. You know what I'm saying? Went through some of the same things. He told me how he went from something to absolutely nothing, to being disgraced by people, to where people didn't even want to be around him, touch him, whatever. And what I was seeing was not what he was telling me that he once was. Right. Yeah. So I was like, man, if God can do it for him, you know what I'm saying? I said, shoot, let me put the faith in action.
That's why your testimony is so powerful right now. There's somebody that's listening right now who's in that position. You know, I'm in church, but I'm still rolling because I like the lifestyle. Yes, I like the things and the stuff. Yes, and I'm thinking I'm getting a regular job, ain't going to provide for that. Yes, sir. So your testimony right now is helping millions of people. So we just thank God for you giving that. Yes, sir. And you know, like Bishop, he had the same testimony. Yes, I had the same testimony. But I'm telling you, when you trust God by faith, yes, sir, you could overcome anything.
Overcome anything.
Yeah, I want you to talk about, you know, you was a straight A student at Cass Tech. Straight A's. Your mother was a praying mother. She was in the church. What was that like, having, you know, a church praying mother, but you still called to the street? What was that like?
It was a blessing because everybody didn't have that. When I say everybody didn't have that, a lot of mothers was on crack. A lot of mothers was drinking. A lot of mothers was just out in the streets with their kids. You know what I'm saying? My mother was always there to provide. She was a strong black woman. She took care of us to the best of her ability, you know, and she prayed. She's a praying woman, and but there's just something about a man being in your life, you know what I'm saying? And I was attracted to the men that were in my life, and the men that were in my life was, first of all, it was my brothers, you know what I'm saying? I'm following them, you know what I'm saying? And then the men that were a part of my life, which was my stepfather. He was a drug dealer. He was a gangster. He taught me how to hold a gun. He taught me how to carry myself in the street. I'm watching him. So all these images that I'm seeing in front of me, that's who I became. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, and somehow while I was in the street, it was always like I was connected to the man. I don't know why I was always like that, but it was just like, it was, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't understand it. I just accepted it, you know. But my mother she was in church. She was praying for us. And I love her and I appreciate her, but there's nothing like a man being in your life and speaking into your life and being a model, a godly model, a godly example, you know, in your life. And I remember I was still going to school, you know, because like I said, I wanted to bring honor to our name, because our name, it had honor in the street, but it didn't have the right type of honor. You know what I'm saying? And I just used to see the smile on her face and how she felt when I bring that report card home and it's all A's over there and things like that. So when I transitioned to Cass Tech, you know, but I'm still, when I leave there, I'm still in the streets. What happened was, like I said, when the streets flip on you, and the things you put out there come back to haunt you and bite you, I blacked out. You know, when I came home and my own brother had took everything, all of my clothes, everything that I had hustled for to get, he had took all of it. It just tripped me out, and I was like, you know what? I can't beat this. I might as well just jump all the way in.
Wow.
You know, and I remember I told my mother, cause she was working so much and everything, I lied to her. And I told her, I said, I can't go back to Cass, I done flunked out. I just wanted to go back to the neighborhood. I didn't want to have to go all the way downtown. I said, no, I want to go to the hood. And I wound up leaving Cass Tech and coming to Henry Ford High School. And yeah, it was crazy. And then, you know, like you said, once you're out there in that lifestyle, you like the notoriety. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, I go to school. Then after school, I go to the spots at night, roll all night. You know, sometimes I ran away from home. You know, went out of town, come back to school. You got the fashion on, you got the jewelry on, you got the beepers on to go. You know what I'm saying? And that stuff was attractive. Same way it was attractive to me out there when I went into school was attractive. So the young guys, they looking at me, they like, you know, and I'm feeling like the man. Little did I know I was a negative influence on a lot of them.
Yes.
Because a lot of them ran out and tried to do the same thing. You know what I'm saying? They ran out of school chasing that cheese. You know, and it's crazy, but there's nothing like having a real role model in your life. Yes. You know what I'm saying? And you got, you know, us especially as young boys, you need a man in your life.
Now, from then, the people that you used to run with, I know quite sure you run into them today, every now and then. And now you're an elder of the church.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What do you do when you run into some of the guys you used to hang out with who's still stuck?
Man, my heart goes out to them. My heart goes out to them. I lost a lot out there in those streets. You know, before I got saved, it's crazy. Before I got saved, my best friend, my oldest brother, who's my superhero, and my stepfather, who wind up getting saved later on in life and became a deacon. All three of them were taken away from me within a 2-year span. Wow. I mean, these were the men that surrounded me at the altar at my wedding. They were all taken away from me, and so I felt alone. I felt by myself. Felt like I didn't have nobody, and so I became my own man for a long time. A long time. When I go out and I run into certain individuals, you know, the ones that's still around. A lot of them dead and gone or locked up, and they see the change in me. You know, for me it's a blessing because I want them to see that it's possible. All things are possible with God, but you got to trust Him more than you trust anything in this world. You know, and I just try to be an example. I encourage you. I understand where they at because I was there before.
Yes.
You know, you can't just bam, 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 bam. Just love on them from where they at. And then, you know, you get that God, and, you know, you let them know what God did this. It wasn't me working it out on my own, but it was me being submissive to God's will, to God's way, and having somebody, same way we had the man in the street that gave us what we needed to handle our business.
Yeah.
That you got to get a man in God that can give you what you need to handle your business.
That's
and
right.
to change your life.
You talk about your brother. I know he was on one side, and he actually came back to the Lord himself, didn't he?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What happened with him?
That was my middle brother. It's crazy because when I was out there, I remember all three of them being in prison at the same time. Wow. See, these are the things that, you know, they show it on TV now, but back then they wasn't showing it. You know what I'm saying? These were the things when I say when the flip side comes. You don't understand the court systems you had to go through. Man, I went to court so much with my mom when I was young, and I'm seeing the tears in her eyes, and I'm seeing her plead to the judges for leniency for her sons who were dead wrong in what they were doing. You know what I'm saying? But it was the environment they were brought up in that they became a part of. So I remember all of that, and so it almost became like a repetition for them in prison, out of prison, in prison, out of prison. So my middle brother, man, he was in prison, and this was when we grown now. I had lost my older brother already, and my middle brother and the brother right up under me, he had just got out of prison. So all three of us was out at the same time. It's the first time all three of us been out. Wow, in well over 15 years. Because one had just did 7 years. He got out, and then one had just did 8 years, and he got out. So this was the first time all three of us was together. My older brother had passed, and while he was in prison, he was in the Muslim thing. And he was a hierarchy in the Muslim thing, but he wound up giving his life to Christ and getting converted Christianity and giving his life to Christ.
Yes.
And when he came home, he was on fire for the Lord, on fire for Jesus. I mean, God had showed him favor, gave him a wife. I mean, he was one of the ones who used to use my name for felonies. He had felonies galore, but God opened up doors for him. Wow. You know what I'm saying? Showed him favor. I mean, where he was running whole apartment complexes out in the suburbs. You know, not in the hood, out in the suburbs. The trust that God had put on him. You know, it was just like wow, it was overwhelming, and his lifestyle had changed and everything. And I remember when he came home, he was on fire for God. Yes, but we wasn't. He was, and he had. His desire was to see his family saved. His heart and desire, because he, first of all, he knew what he had put on us. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Oh man, he was a hothead. He did it all. You know what I'm saying? So he knew the stuff that he had to me through, my mom through, and you know our family members through. So I know for a fact that he was trying to make up for that. But I know his heart desire was to see, because when he came out and saw what was going on, he saw all of us just wilding, you know. Wow. And his heart desire was to see us saved. And so I remember him trying to get us. But at that moment we weren't trying to hear it. We was into ourselves.
Yes.
You know, but he wound up coming down to where we were at to try to win us. Wow. And what happened was he wound up getting pulled back into the street, you know what I'm saying? I mean, the little level sports, they tear it up. And so, you know, he come to the hood, hanging out for a minute. And first he was just coming, ministering, trying to be that light. Yes. And then he started coming, and now, okay, he's talking smack like the streets. Now you hit a blunt or you hit a beer, you know what I'm saying? Now, what you put yourself around is what you become. So now, you know, you got guys that we grew up with, they still hustling. Okay, now you want to throw them some change to hustle. You know, you call yourself looking out for them. Next thing you know, you pull all the way back in, you running drug houses, you back in the street. Next thing you know, you back hooked. Wow. So now you fighting the spiritual fight and the flesh fight. It's two worlds you in, and you battling. You know what I'm saying? And he stepped out of his grace. He stepped out of his place, and he was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and the enemy used that to take him out, and he lost his life, and it devastated us. It's devastating. I remember I was with my bishop. We were leaving church. We were on our way to a football game, my first football game I ever been to. Wow. And I get a call from my sister-in-law telling me that they found her car burned up and a body in it. And we went black from there, you know. Wow. And it was devastating. He was killed horrifically. And it just shows that you can't play on the devil's turf. You can't play with it. You can't play with it. And I remember what's crazy is I had been saved. I think I was a minister in church, and I remember my bishop had told me one day that he said, "Son, God gonna use you, but you gotta go through some more pain. Wow. You gotta go through some more pain so you can be able to help somebody else." And I didn't understand that time. I'm like, pain. I done been through some pain. I done already lost a brother in the street. I done already lost my best friend. I done already lost my stepfather. I done already saw, you know what I'm saying, pain. I didn't understand it. And then to get that type of news, you know what I'm saying, in God. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, now you got to, it's almost like the devil say, what you gonna do now? You're talking good, you're walking good, what you gonna do now?
You know, the power of suffering for righteousness. That'd be a struggle for people in the dope world.
Yes, sir.
You know, you have an opportunity to hook up with one of the boys that used to make a lot of paper with, and you say, but you run into a restaurant with him, he still got it on him. Yeah. He your boy, he just throw you $1,000, just say, hey man, just for old time's sake, here go my number, call me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And you go through a struggle, because you know, the devil comes, you know, with that fear, false evidence appearing real, and us as saints, we go through things.
Yes, sir. Yes,
especially when you had connections.
Yes, sir.
And all you got to do is make one connection, and said, Lord, I'm going to repent for this, but I'm going to go get this paper.
Let me tell you what's crazy about that. Because when that happened to my brother, we from the streets.
Mm-hmm.
And my first brother, he passed away. It wasn't by nobody's hands, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It was a health issue. But when somebody put their hands on your loved ones, you black out. And so I remember me and my brother, we over in the neighborhood, we got our guns on us, we knocking on doors, we asking questions, we just waiting to find out what's going on, you know what I'm saying? And I remember one day I was over there by myself, and I got my weapon on me, and I'm just trying to find out what happened. And I remember Bishop called me. He said, "Where you at?" I said, "I'm just over in the hood, just trying to find out something." And he told me, "Get from over there." He said, "Son, get from over there." And he prayed for me. And little did I know that spirit that took my brother out had came on me.
Almost.
I was ready to kill somebody, and I was just looking for the opportunity. And the enemy, that's what the enemy wanted me to do. He's like, "No, you can't have no blood on your hands. You got to put this faith into action now. You got to put the word of God into action now. You got when God say vengeance is His, you got to trust Him." When you said the suffering that you had to go through, you really have to trust God through all of this, and you have to put that faith into action. So I thank God for a man of God who's spiritually sensitive, for a covering that can pray for you and give you wisdom and pull you out. Because I was in a dark place, I didn't even know. Listen, I'm in church.
I know.
I'm praising God in the morning.
Yes, Lord.
But in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm gonna find who did this to my brother.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't know that was on me like this, but I thank God for the man of God who's spiritually sensitive and the power of God to pray those things up off of you, man. And, when it comes to this walk with Christ, man, it's all about faith.
Yes,
and you have to put it in action. But putting it in action, when you get that outcome, you see what God can do. Man, it's like wow.
That's why we always say faith don't make sense.
It makes miracles. I'm hearing you guys talk about this fast money, this fast life, but now being saved and everything. Is this something that you have to fast away from? Because I often heard Bishop say, when you get turned on to something, you can get turned out, and the rest of your life you kind of have to fight it. Is that something you guys have to struggle with?
Yeah, I mean, in this life, we in this flesh, and the flesh always want and like, and that ain't gonna never change.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But thank God for the wisdom and the knowledge and having a testimony. He said, "You overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the words of your testimony." So I had to keep the testimonies of what God brought me out of when I didn't even know I was in, or I didn't even know how to get out of.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, those situations are always there. I mean, when you look on TV and you see the fast money and everybody living this way, and they doing what they want to do, how they want to do it. I mean, we only in the flesh.
Come on.
It look tasty, but man, what's the outcome on it?
Wait,
it's crazy.
God is a keeper. God is a keeper.
Yes, He is.
Listen. You have a powerful testimony. You was a felony. God expunged it and everything. What would Elder Damon, the man you are today, say to that 18-year-old boy that you were? Straight A student at Cass, but at nighttime, selling dope, running with gangsters. What would Elder Damon say to that young man?
I would say right now that don't be scared to be different from what you see going on in your community. Don't be scared to be the one to stand out and be a light in your community. It's easy to join the crowd. It's easy to do what everybody else is doing. But get connected. Find a church. Find somewhere where you can be developed in the things of God, because at the end of the day, that's the only thing that's going to stand is the Word of God. The fast stuff, the fast money, the fast cars, that lifestyle, it's only a matter of time before it catches up.
I'm gonna say find word in action.
Come on,
Langston. I don't know about you. Look at the lives and how your life changed, my life changed, your life changed. What a powerful testimony. They need to get connected to this man of God, Clarence Langston. You can't knock results.
Most definitely.
Powerful.
My life has changed for the better. We good?